right there. Feeling good? Microphone's out. All right. Head coach Eric Ramsay, what's up with you, Andy?
Eric, what are your overall thoughts on the match?
I'm really frustrated because it's a game you felt we had complete control of at half-time, and obviously the message to the players at that point is if you can replicate that, play with the same level of control, intensity, discipline that we did in the first half, there's absolutely no way we're not winning that game. I just felt we've taken our foot off their neck in a sense in the second half. We've let the game become too open, and albeit it's got that typical feel at the end of a game at the Allianz where it's exciting, it's good to watch, you feel like either we're winning it or losing it. It's definitely not heading for a draw. That's not how we want to finish games like that, where we've done more than enough in terms of how we've controlled the balance of play and how we've restricted their players. So we're frustrated. But I will say the first half was a really good performance. I think that's the most complete performance that we've had since I've been here, definitely, both in and out of possession, really, really strong. And that's no mean feat against a very good team. So we're really pleased that we've taken a big step there. I'm pleased we've not lost the game. I'm pleased we've got a point. But the overriding feeling in the dressing room and amongst the staff is frustration. And I think that in itself is a good step in certain senses.
If you have a question, let us know.
How much are you getting out of Curvin right now? Obviously the goal time, but then his ability to just sprint backfield on a potential breakaway. Just how much are you getting out of him right now?
Yeah, he's done really, really well. I've said it repeatedly. He's got a lot of qualities. He's got the qualities on the ball of a midfield player and the athletic qualities of a centre back, which is a really good set of traits for us to work with. So we'll try and use him relatively flexibly, but he's certainly been one of the stronger performers in over the course of this little run that we're on at the moment, and he gives us an awful lot. And I'm really pleased that we've managed to get him going and playing with some real consistency.
What do you think your team did particularly well in the first half that led to that best half you've seen so far?
0 shots, 0 set plays, 0 expected goals for the opposition, which in itself tells a story. We defended really, really well. Obviously, they're a team that uses a set of 4 front players to really good effect if you give them space, and we didn't give them any space. And as I've talked about repeatedly, that is the platform for a good performance for us. And as much as we want to really move to being a team that can be dominant with the ball, that's us. That first half where we're very, very good out of possession. We use the ball well when we've got it. We're really aggressive with how we use the ball. We created a lot of good quality chances, but the basis of good performances against teams like that are making sure that you give them no space, and we gave them no space and managed to stay relatively high up the pitch, I thought. So that was arguably the most pleasing thing.
With Fagundes and Jovic coming in the second half and scoring goals, how did that change LA Galaxies from your perspective?
I think it was inevitable to an extent that they were always going to there was going to be a momentum swing. I think it's the nature of the league. It's the nature of the matchup with us and them. It's very, very difficult to have 90 minutes of what we had for 45 minutes. I accepted that, but I think we were just too loose in the second half. We became too ill-disciplined. We gave that front 3 chances that ordinarily we wouldn't give away. So that's the frustrating thing from my perspective. Obviously, they've got good depth across those front players. So as they make changes, they've got very good players coming in to replace very good players leaving the pitch. So that's, of course, that's difficult for us to deal with over the course of 90 minutes. But we should have done, frankly, we should have done, and that's what's frustrating.
Describe where Ricky Puig was on the scouting report, and obviously kind of what he was able to do. You talk about time and space. That second goal, he was just able to go straight through you.
Yeah, and that's the thing I said prior to this, that he's very difficult. It's very difficult to predict where he's going to pop up, and you'll see that he, I assume, is given liberty to read the game as he sees it, and you can see him receiving the ball from the central defenders, and you can see him taking the ball off the number 9 in the same move. So it's really difficult to say in a concrete way how you're going to deal with him. But as a principle, you're not going to give space away, and the second you do give space away, then obviously they cause you huge problems. So in order for us to be really dominant across the whole game, we needed to be very disciplined for longer than we were, which is frustrating. But I'll maintain that is in general, it's a step forward, and I'm sure when I watch it back, I'll feel an overriding sense of positivity rather than negativity. Obviously now that's it's not quite the case.
Analytics is my strong suit, but you lose the possession battle, but your goal expectancy was at 2.67. What does that say about the opportunities that you guys were able to capitalize on, even though you missed the target a few times? But what does that say? Even though in limited possession, your goal expectancy.
Yeah, and we're not a team that's obsessed with possession or having the ball for having the ball's sake. I think we want to be a team that uses the ball aggressively, that plays forward relatively quickly without sacrificing too much control. I think that's probably something you'll have seen in the second half. We play forward very quickly without being connected enough, and therefore every time the ball turns over, you're not there to kill the spaces that you want to kill. So that's something we're always trying to strike, that balance between being very purposeful with how we use the ball, but not being so aggressive with its use that we end up not being connected as a team, and that was a problem in the second half. First half and periods of the second half, we're very good on the switch of play. As we switch play, the game opens up in the middle. We can find those spaces well. So there's a lot of good stuff to take in that sense. If we could have balanced that with slightly more control, I'm sure we would have won the game there.
Thank you. How do you plan to regroup the team after the draw?
Yeah, I'll be honest with the team at the end of the game, and they will be honest with themselves that they're leaving probably with a stronger sense of negativity than positivity, in spite of everything that went with that game. But then I'm sure by tomorrow we will find a way to be constructive about that, and then it's up to us to make sure that this becomes a good point by putting in a good performance here on Saturday, and good performances typically will equal good results for us here. So I think if we can manage that, then and we can approach that with a real sense of energy and positivity, which won't be which will to an extent be tough in 3 days' time. But we've got a good squad to draw on. We've got players that are in good shape across, say, 17, 18, all of whom have good minutes in the legs. So I certainly won't be afraid of making changes in that sense. And I'm sure anyone who comes into the team will bring that energy and positivity.
Your team not only scored from a corner kick, but effectively scored twice from corner kicks. Again, what do you put that down to?
There's a lot of detail to it that I won't give away here, but you can't look past the fact that we've got very good delivery on both sides, and we've got players in the box that have real desperation to score, and obviously that's the basis of a team that is going to be good from set plays. We of course work on it. We of course approach these things in a very purposeful way, but there's momentum in that sense as well, and we'll be a team that's a real threat across not just corners, but you see it on throws and wide free kicks too. So it's a really good trait to have as a team.
DJ Taylor's crosses seem to be really accurate, very much improved from last season. Can you talk about him and his play on either side of the ball?
Yeah, incredibly reliable, consistent player that I think has taken really big steps forward. Not often is he found wanting defensively. Incredibly energetic and a really good runner, a really good athlete. And then obviously you're seeing that we're producing a good number of chances from his side. So that's credit to him. And obviously it shows in how often he's been used, how rarely he finds himself as a sub. He's an incredibly valuable player for us, and obviously moving forward really, really well.
You've talked a few times recently about kind of letting off the gas. What do you need to do to kind of reinforce kind of mentality and kind of staying with it?
Yeah, we need to strike that balance well between being very aggressive with how we use the ball and how we want to defend, and not sacrificing control. It's that's sort of broadly speaking. There's far more detail to it than that, and we will pick the instances apart in micro detail that led to us losing control of that game. But in broad terms, it's that really making sure that we're really sensible in how we balance those two sides of the game, I suppose.
Last two.
Song Bin doing okay?
Yeah, he's doing fine. Obviously, we're conscious of managing a squad over the course of not just these two games, but we want to go into June with players having minutes in their legs. I don't want to have to suddenly start drawing on guys that haven't been playing and then be really reliant on them over the course of 2 months. And I think we've probably got a good momentum over the course of the last 4 games in terms of minutes across, say, 15, 16, 17 players. So partly that is behind why we changed the 3 players on 60 minutes. Partly it was to do with the fact that you did feel like we were having a little bit of a lull at that point, and if we could change the front players, and perhaps that would give us a bit of energy, and it did to an extent, but also that was probably the point at which the game became a little bit loose. So we're sort of seeing 2 sides of that coin, really. But I think if you keep the big picture in mind, then I think maybe where other teams aren't, we're coming into this very thick run of games with a lot of players with good minutes in their legs, and also some freshness across the front players for us to approach Saturday with some real energy.
With the short turnaround, how much of your video analysis time will be looking at this game versus looking at Portland Timber games?
Yeah, I mean, I've said repeatedly, we're not a team that is obsessed with the opposition, and largely we will work to the principles that we work to every game, irrespective of what the opposition do. And of course, we work to the subtleties of the forwards, as an example today, and how we work in a very specific way to stop them. But when it comes to Portland, you're going to see us try and do roughly the same things. Every game demands that you try and restrict the opposition space. Every game demands, from our perspective, that we use the ball well, purposefully and aggressively, and we'll turn our attention to the sort of nuance around the way Portland play, but it certainly won't affect the way we play in great detail.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.